Consultation with AmericanEagle.com.
Empower.
Tim collects bobbleheads. A lot of bobbleheads. Baseball bobbleheads, race car bobbleheads, little chihuahua bobbleheads. He's got an entire room strictly for bobbleheads. Does he need them? No. Is his wife mad about it? A little. But Tim works with Empower, and he got good at money, so he can be a little bad. Ooh, horse bobblehead. Classy, Tim. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
There's nothing like when you get that part from eBay, and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you'll find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888.
That's 888-8888.
From the Accident Recovery Team Traffic Center, don't worry about me, I called ART.
Traffic volume still fairly light in Wichita at this time. Continue to watch out. We've got some new road construction just started up this week. East and westbound lanes affected on Kellogg, and it is between the Central Business District and I-135. Traffic update from 98.7 and 1330 KNSS. In the Accident Recovery Team Traffic Center, I'm Jad Chambers.
Weather.
Mostly sunny, hot, and humid today. 94 is the high. 100-ish is your heat index. Gusty winds from the south will give us some cooling. Could see a storm or two this evening. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies overnight. 72 is the low. Partly cloudy and 90 on Thursday with a good chance of showers and storms during the afternoon. We'll do it again on Friday. Dry and warmer this weekend. That's your forecast from Storm Team 12. I'm meteorologist Jake Dunn.
Kansas fan headquarters, 9750 and 1240 KFH Wichita, KNSS HD2 Clearwater, and Odyssey Sports Station.
Hey Wichita, it's Jacob Albrock. Stay right there for the latest breaking in sports talk. It's Sports Daily coming up next exclusively on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
I'm Taylor Bisciotti with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Micah Parsons and the Cowboys hit the field for their first training camp practice Tuesday in Oxnard, California. Parsons, who's seeking a new contract, did participate in warm-ups, speaking to reporters after practice and said, I want to be here. I've always said I want to be here, but at the end of the day, they sign the checks like always, and let's see if they want me to be here. Meantime, Bengals pass rusher Trey Hendrickson did not report, while Bills running back James Cook did. Both players are seeking contract extensions. Quarterback Matthew Stafford, who also reported to camp, is dealing with a sore back and is expected to practice in a limited capacity. And after 12 seasons, safety Tyrann Mathieu is calling it a career. The Honey Badger announced his retirement and said in a statement, "As I hang up my cleats, I'm filled with gratitude. This isn't goodbye, it's just the next chapter." This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit information kit. 800-761-0000. That's 800-761-0000.
Paid for by Wesley Financial Group.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
Well, hey there, everybody. Island Vibes this morning on Sports Daily, Hawaiian Shirt Wednesday. And we're glad to be with you on this Hawaiian Shirt Wednesday. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor here with you. And we've got Max Power producing. He's always in the spirit on a Wednesday as we get you ready for another day in the sports world, another day of Chiefs training camp, a day after a pretty thrilling win for the Aftershocks. And we hope a chance to play the KU alumni team at Coke Arena on Sunday night. Should be a lot of fun. We'll get into that as we make our way through. We'll get into the Royals. We'll look at their loss yesterday. We'll look at the latest trade rumors and all the things going on there, and some college sports news trickling out as those camps are underway. Some more thoughts on the college football playoff. Where does Brett Yormark stand? Where does all the conference commissioners stand? There's kind of a divide going on right now with the playoff format expansion and what that would look like. We'll get into all of it. It's all what's on tap here on a Wednesday. It's brought to you by Wichita Brewing Company, WBC Delano's debut brew, Hatfield's Mama, which is a German Kolsch, a clean, crisp character that's smooth and refreshing. Make history with Hatfield's Mama, Wichita Brewing Company, Delano's debut brew, available at all three WBC brew pubs. Tommy, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Happy Wednesday. Good to see you today. We've got a lot to get into. Aftershocks was so much fun to watch last night for the TBT. So looking forward to getting into that and everything else going on today.
And I think we have Shreyas Latta back from vacation. So we'll see if Shreyas is able to stop by and chat a little KU with us. They're starting football camp tomorrow, their first practice, I believe, that at least media is invited to. So we'll get some thoughts on them and Bill Self-talk this week a little bit as well. And we'll dig into all of it with Shreyas in the next hour if he is indeed back from vacation. I believe that he is. So we'll have that for you. Sorry, the Aftershocks, Tommy. We were watching that and I cannot get enough of the Elam ending. I've said it a million times. I love it. I genuinely think it should be how we end basketball games. It sets up every game to end on a buzzer beater. And give it to me right into my veins. It makes a tournament full of guys. It's not an exhibition tournament. They're playing for $1 million, but it's a tournament that I could never see myself before 2019 when the Aftershocks first got involved in this, caring a sliver about this. And then it comes and you see the support, and that makes it fun. And then you see the way these games end, and that just puts it over the top. I love this tournament. I'm excited about this team's chances. The other big news, Tommy, is now, because of ticket sales and because of what's happened in other spots of this tournament, Wichita State hosts this thing potentially if they hang on through a championship, which is wild and fun to think about as they're back into this round of 8, a place they've been. I believe this is the 4th time since they got into this tournament in 2019. They've been tremendously successful, but they've never been able to get it over the finish line for the Millie. This should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it is setting up at least to be a storybook type situation for the Aftershocks. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. There's a ways to go, and they've got to keep winning. But the fact that they've been able to go this far, and with the opportunity to continue to host as they continue to win, the fact that they knocked off the Houston alumni team, the Forever Cougs team, yesterday, I mean, that's nothing to ignore. I mean, that's a really good team. They were the number 1 seed in the Wichita region for a reason over the Aftershocks. And so the fact that the Aftershocks were able to knock them off in thrilling fashion, it went down to the wire. It was tied at 63. Marcus Keene able to hit the game winner for the Aftershocks. I mean, that tells you that this team feels like they can go all the way. That's been the storyline, I think, from the beginning, that, hey, enjoy this squad, enjoy this collection of players. They've got the talent and the ability to be able to go a long way in this tournament.
They'll face the winner of tonight's game between Jayhawks Hoops, and Heartfire. They play in that Kansas City regional championship. That one is tonight. So we'll get there. And the other thing we always miss on is the Aftershocks playing either the KU or the K-State alumni team. It always eludes. We talked to We talked to them last week, and Zach Bush brought it up. Like it could happen. And how much fun would that be on Sunday night? It's already going to be good. Sunday night, you want to talk about real good? You put the Jayhawks alumni team up against the Aftershocks at Koch Arena on a Sunday night, and now you're into, would this be the quarterfinals, the Elite Eight, basically? I don't think they're allowed to call it that, but just for all intents and purposes, let's go. Like this thing's fun. And man, that game last night ends on the 3-pointer. It was coming down to the wire. You could feel it too. Like the entire second half, you're like, this thing, they're going to be neck and neck going into the Elam ending. And again, for those who don't watch and don't know what we mean when we mean Elam ending, basically they play, and at 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, they add 8 points to the leading team score, and you play to that number. And so every single game, A, ends on a buzzer beater, and B, you don't foul at the end of the game to try and keep yourself in it. It makes the end so much better, and it should be incorporated everywhere, across the board, all across basketball, at every level. That should be how basketball games are ended.
It's interesting because the longer that the TBT is around, I think the less of a novelty the Elam ending is. I mean, I remember when the Aftershocks first got involved and I was watching the tournament the first couple of years. I'm like, okay, this is a little bit hokey. Like, I understand what they're doing and what they're trying to do, but it seems a little novelty and whatever. And now, because it's gone on for so long, you just get used to it. It becomes a standard way to end a basketball game now. It's not a, ridiculously crazy way to end a game. It makes every single game entertaining, and turning the clock off, being able to play to a target score, every single game ends on a game winner. It makes it that much more exciting. So what I love is that the longer that the TBT is around, the less of a novelty the Elam ending is, and the more legitimate I feel like it becomes.
Well, didn't they incorporate it into the NBA All-Star game?
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
They did.
I mean, I don't know what it would take. It'll never replace the ending of all basketball games. I wish it would, but I don't think that's ever in the cards. Man, I wish it would go into every other scenario possible. It would not take long for people to see it. Could you imagine a high-profile game ending that way? It's so much better. It's so much better. It would be faster and quicker, which is always something like I think TV networks are interested in. So, either way, we get it for this tournament. We get the Aftershocks who continue to play well, and let's enjoy it. And, the fans answered the call, I think, last night. That was a great crowd at Koch Arena, and we'll see if they can do it again. And I hope that they do, because those environments are fun. It reminds you of, old Shocker basketball, quite frankly. And we don't know all the players quite as well that are major contributors this year, but they're quickly becoming fan favorites. It's a fun team to watch. So congratulations to them. We'll see if the Jayhawk alumni team can follow it up tonight with a win and get up here Sunday night for a game at Koch Arena, and what would be just a blast. When we come back, we'll talk about the Royals game yesterday, and we'll continue, as we do most days, to kind of scour the trade deadline a little bit, see what's out there. And what's available for the Royals, or what they might be making available, as they're now 4 games under 500 with about a week to go until the trade deadline. We'll be right back.
Lightning, hail, tornadoes, flooding. It's the worst of severe weather, and it's coming. Spring brings warmer temperatures, but also dangerous weather conditions. Stay up to date day or night with the Storm Team 12 weather app. You'll get accurate forecasts so you can plan ahead and stay safe, no matter the weather. Download the Storm Team 12 weather app, brought to you by Stutzman's Greenhouse.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
This is Rich Eisen. Check out The Rich Eisen Show, 11 until 2 on Wichita's #1 sports station, Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Odyssey is one of the most influential audio and entertainment brands in the nation. You already know Odyssey's iconic local radio brands in Wichita. But did you know Odyssey has the country's best collection of music, news, and sports brands? Odyssey is also a premium podcast creator, major event producer, and digital innovator. Odyssey brings people together across the country and right here in Wichita. Odyssey also delivers meaningful radio and digital audio results. Find out our story and impact at odysseyinc.com/Wichita.
Make yourself known now.
31001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Hey, Wichita, Jim Rome here, celebrating over 25 years as the #1 midday sports talk show on Wichita Radio. Find out why. Tune into The Jungle, weekdays 11 until 2 on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Welcome back in, everybody. Austin says Elam ending forever. He's with us. Appreciate that, Austin. Great listener of the show. We appreciate you all being here with us today. The Summer Concert Series back in Wichita. NAFSCR Park this weekend returns Friday. The Astronauts live on stage. Gates open at 6:30. Show starts at 8. Enjoy free live music, food trucks, and Friday night fun all summer long. You can find the full schedule at kfhradio.com. Tommy, the Royals are losers yesterday. Matthew Boyd shut them down, as he's been doing to a lot of people this year. I'm not sure. Is he in the Cy Young running? He's been really good.
I don't know if he is or not. He should be. If he's not, he was lights out.
Yeah, he's on a heater right now too, of some length here. But the Royals can't get anything done against him. Rich Hill, in his Royals debut, I thought was pretty good. Fine. Set some records with his age, and that's what everyone, wants to talk about, and all the things that he did is how old he is and all these things. But the bottom line is he came up and he filled in pretty well. And I don't know. I think we got to pay attention to that because they've got some injuries that they're dealing with. So it's nice that he's there. I don't know. I assume that Lorenzen will be back right away. We haven't heard Lorenzen's name tossed around as a trade candidate, which is a little interesting, but it hasn't been. I think it could be, but Seth Lugo continues to garner the attention. So ESPN's Buster Olney reporting yesterday, as he's just kind of, scouring around, is that the Royals have shown a willingness to trade, but the intent is to compete again next year, which means they're not willing to part with the core of their pitching staff, according to Olney, and they want to improve their offense in the future and whatever it does. So what that tells me is the things we were talking about yesterday with like Chris Bubich. I think that's what the illusion is there, that with an A, not an I, is that they don't want to mess with next year's rotation, of which Chris Bubich would be a big part of it. Seth Lugo, he goes on to say with that $15 million player option that, the idea in the league right now is other staffers think he's going to walk from that option like we all do, but it's not a known. So maybe the Royals are trying to paint it as he's not just a rental, but the reality is everyone knows he's kind of just a rental, at least to some level. And so that's where they're trying to, to evaluate Lugo, which, again, rentals are not what they used to be. The Royals did get Reagans out of a rental deal for Aroldis Chapman, but for the most part, you don't get top-end guys. I will say, though, Reagans came over in a deal like that. Look at a guy like Noah Cameron. Noah Cameron would have been the kind of player probably traded in a deal like that, right? He's not the top level prospect. Like I think those guys are out there. So it's still like, you've still got to get it right, but it doesn't mean there's no value. It just means there's not the same value as there was 15, 20 years ago. You're not trading Mark Teixeira for the haul that, he brought in a rental type scenario a long time ago. Like those days are numbered, but you could still get good players. And we'll see what the Royals want to do. It's a big game today. But that's the latest that I've seen on the trade deadline. Is Olney's reporting yesterday that it just sort of backs up what we've been saying. It's Lugo or bust, it looks like.
By the way, I love the random Mark Teixeira reference. Whenever we can talk about the big techs, that's a good moment for me. What a fun player he was back in the day.
And thank you to your Braves, by the way, who gave up way too much for him and sent the Rangers to 2 World Series.
You're right. And he wasn't a Brave for very long. He was a rental for the Braves. But back to your point and back to Buster Olney's reporting, not willing to part with the core of their young pitchers or their pitching rotation. To me, I think the question becomes, is Seth Lugo still considered a core member of your rotation? And I know that he's got the player option. It seems like a foregone conclusion that he'll decline that option. He'll walk, test the open market, all of that. But it goes back to the conversation that you and I have had at length multiple times about, is it better for the Royals to try to, receive a return for Seth Lugo now under the impression that he is going to walk and they're not going to be able to afford him in free agency? Or is it better to let it play out? And I think that knowing that there is the compensatory pick that the Royals will get if they make, and they should make him a qualifying offer after this season, at least you don't walk away completely empty-handed if you just ride this out with Lugo. If you don't move him, if you don't trade him, if you see if this team can get to the playoffs with him in the rotation, at least you know that all you have to do is make a qualifying offer, and at least you'll get something in return. Now, is that better?
Do you even, I guess, yeah, if he takes his option, so if he takes his option and walks, at that point, you can make a qualifying offer. Is that right? I don't know how it works with player options. I know how it works generally speaking. Generally speaking, if you have a free agent, you make them a qualifying offer, you get the pick. I don't know if it's the exact same on a player option. I assume that it is, because I don't think you could be penalized for, that otherwise teams would never give player options. So I assume that's what that process would look like.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I know that obviously you're able to get that comp pick once you do make the qualifying offer. So I would imagine that I think the way it works is that Lugo would decline his player option. The Royals then make him a qualifying offer. And then if he declines that and walks and enters free agency, then they would get that draft pick in return.
Yeah. It's there. And there is always they could still contend this year. I mean, that's also the other piece of this, and Lugo certainly helps them do that. Outside of losing every game over the next week, they're going to be in a range where the outcome is certainly possible that they could climb back into it.
And by the way, so there is a new article that came out, I mean, maybe 2 hours ago from Ken Rosenthal at The Athletic talking about the Royals. And he says that the Royals have made it clear to other ball clubs that if they move Seth Lugo, it's only going to be for controllable outfield help. They want a long-term solution in the outfield. That's what Rosenthal is saying. And he goes on to say that the Royals not only would consider giving Lugo a qualifying offer, but they also believe that they would be competitive in trying to re-sign him. And those are Rosenthal's words, that they feel like even if he does decline that player option, that they think they can be competitive in the open market to try to re-sign him and bring him back.
So that helps us answer a scenario we've long wondered. I don't know how often GMs and players and agents talk cheddar during a season, but there's no way they haven't at least had some conversations of that scenario. Like, all right, we were at the deadline. You're obviously a name. Like, what are you looking for next year? How is that going to factor in? So I think all these things are fine. And again, if they don't trade Seth Lugo, it'll be fine. If they trade Seth Lugo, it'll be fine. Both scenarios are fine. I think that it sounds like in both Rosenthal and Olney's reporting recently and others prior that the Royals have a clear goal with it and they'd like to get better, through a Lugo trade. It's not like a rebuild. It's a sort of like what they did with Brady Singer, I think, try to solve an issue through a position of depth. And right now that's a position of depth. And again, there is the scenario that if you are talking to Lugo's people and you want him back and you know what it's going to take, that you still trade him away and still go try to bring him back. Like I don't know what that relationship's like, but I mean, it sounds like it's pretty good.
Yeah, and the one name that Rosenthal brings up, and I've seen Jeff Passan mention this name as well, is Jarren Duran. And Duran seems to get a lot more buzz with the Royals and that connection over the last few days or so because he's got 3 years of club control after this season. Rosenthal goes on to say that the Red Sox are not going to trade Duran for a rental. So the Royals would have to throw in prospects. They would have to make it better for the Red Sox by giving up prospects on top of a Seth Lugo type pitcher. So the Red Sox feel like they're getting some building blocks for the future for their organization.
Yeah, it's they just have outfield depth. Yeah. They can trade.
It wouldn't be a Lugo for Duran straight up type trade. The Royals would have to bring prospects into the mix as well.
I would think so. I mean, Duran's got tons of control.
Yeah.
But what prospects, right? I don't think it's going to be like Lugo and one of the catchers. I mean, I would make that deal still if it were me.
I mean, Rosenthal does say that teams are targeting their young catching in particular. So
they just have so much of it.
Yeah.
And that's a player that, I mean, as recently as last year has been outstanding. It's a player that has, I'm going to pull it up just to know exactly what it is, but his contract is very controllable. There is a club option. So it's this year. And then he's not an unrestricted free agent, Tommy, until 2029. So you're looking at basically 4 years of control for a player who was an all-star a year ago, who was top 10 in MVP voting, who was an 8-WAR player, and this year in his age 28 season, so in his prime, right? You'd basically get him through his prime in a deal, is performing at minimum much better than the Royals outfielders collectively. But in this down year from a year ago, he's still a 2.5 WAR player. And I believe he's really coming on here more so lately. But he's been really good, and he's controllable. And yeah, if you can go get a player like that from a team that's still contending, which would be strange, but if possible, a strength on strength trade, I think you strongly consider it. You just plug him in left field and your lineup set for this year and next year.
Yeah, I think, again, we talked about this before at length. I think the one thing you have to keep in mind is what is the health of Cole Reagans and Michael Lorenzen? When are you able to get them back? And then can you get your rotation to a point to where you feel like you've got that depth again, and you feel like that is, again, a strength of your team? No offense to Rich Hill. I thought he did fine last night. He didn't light it up, but I didn't expect him to light it up. The fact that the Royals put him out there, I think, shows you obviously how thin their rotation is right now. And so, yeah, like if you can get an outfield bat, great. I understand that. But the last thing that I want to do is move, a guy like Seth Lugo. Everybody always says that the best of ability is availability. And right now, Seth Lugo is available. There aren't a whole lot of pitchers on that pitching staff that are available right now for the Royals.
So I don't totally agree on Rich Hill. I think Rich Hill's presence is meaningful. I think it's kind of important because they, unless even if they're all hurt, like even if Lorenzen and Reagans are banged up the rest of the way, you almost have to look at it. I mean, we got to be realistic. They're 4 games under 500. I know that they have it in them to get on a run. I want them to. I'm optimistic that it can still happen, but they're 4 games under 500. If you had a chance to go get a guy like Duran, I think you're very comfortable with the gamble of Rich Hill being a starter for you the rest of the way. I mean, I think you have to be. That's a player because you're looking at this to next year, and with Duran, you're looking at it for a long time, right? He's not going to ever cost you. I mean, you'll lose. The arbitration number will grow, but it's not like a situation where you're putting all your chips into the middle of the table for right now. That's a trade, if you could get it done, that makes gobs and gobs of sense for both teams involved. And so, yeah, I think you take the risk of your pitchers getting back healthy and you just ride with Rich Hill for a little while. I hope that Daniel Lynch gets back soon so that if there is any extended time, maybe they can get a head start on seeing if he can, be a starter again, like Bubic was, because that's also something that would be important for them next year. I don't think it's that big a deal to the Royals. I think it's a big deal for their chances to go all the way this year to get those guys back. But I think they'd be comfortable with that based on Hill being down there and some of the other options that they have. We'll see. I'm not totally convinced the Red Sox have the appetite to trade Jarren Duran. I'm not. That's a big deal for them if they go and trade a player like that. And I know they've got some depth at the position, but man, if you're trading away an all-star caliber player for potentially a half a season of Lugo, that seems.
That's why I think, the Royals would have to bring in prospects to the mix. They'd have to bring in potentially a top prospect to throw into that deal. And then at that point, does that become a little bit too rich for the Royals' appetite? If they're not only parting with a guy like Lugo, but they're dipping into their farm system and they're giving away prospects. And I get the controllable aspect of Jarren Duran. I get the athleticism that he brings and all of that. I would think long and hard. And it's not a knock on Duran whatsoever. But if I'm going to move Lugo, I'm going to want to find a trade partner that might just want Lugo straight up for somebody. Or if I need to dip into the farm system, not one of my top guys on top of Lugo. I don't want to mortgage the future and give up Seth Lugo at the same time.
So Duran didn't play last night, second straight game, third time over the last 4 that when they have played a left-handed pitcher that they've sat him. So I wouldn't call him like a rotational guy for them by any means. He's not that, but again, it kind of speaks to their depth and maybe how they feel about it. And on the prospects, when you have 3 catchers and you have Salvi and Freddie Fermin, I don't think any of those catchers project out to be something other than a catcher. So it's not, I know it's the top of the system. That's where the Royals have a glut. But again, like a player like Duran is worth a risk on that for me, because you're not going to need all 3 of those guys. Now you got to evaluate the 3 of them correctly and identify which one you'd be willing to give up and which one you want to hang on to. And you got to still get that right. But the reality is you only have room for one of them. So they're there. And if your greatest need is an outfield bat, your goal in the offseason would be to probably use one of those guys to go find an outfield bat anyway. Are the Royals really ever in a trade scenario going to find a more viable bat than a guy like Jarren Duran? I doubt it. Man, it seems unlikely.
What do you think the odds are that, let's get to the end of the season. What do you think the odds are that all 5 starting pitchers that started the year with the Royals in the rotation are still on the Royals roster? Whether or not they're healthy and pitching, that's a different thing entirely. But like being a part of the organization,
40%, because it requires them having Lugo next year. And I just think that's probably not the likeliest scenario, unless they've had a conversation where he really wants to, and they know right now they can financially do it, but I doubt it. I mean, I highly doubt, because of the depth that they have, that they would commit another $25 million to Seth Lugo. They'd rather commit it to Chris Bubich.
They could just be blowing smoke to Ken Rosenthal, but in the whole, like, they feel confident that they can be competitive with him in the open market, and at the very least give him a qualifying offer and all of that. I'm sure that they want to downplay their desire to move him, because they feel like if they look like they want to move him, they may not get as good of a return or as good of offers from other teams. So I'm sure that they're going to try to downplay, publicly at least, the desire to move a guy like Lugo, while privately, they're going to entertain those offers. I do like the fact that it doesn't sound like they're willing to move or part with these other, like, I don't think you move Chris Bubich. I don't want that to happen. I don't think you move any of their other pitchers. For me, if they make a move at all in the next week, it's got to be Lugo, and it sounds like it's got to be for controllable outfield help.
And Duran's the only guy. Like, I don't know of another player. I don't know of another fit.
I mean, Brian Reynolds is out there. He's controllable for a long time.
I'm not. The trade package we just talked about, plus the money that Reynolds is owed, that's a bad trade for the
I'm just telling you, like, that's a controllable outfield piece. Right. That's why he'd been linked to them.
Yeah, that's very expensive and whose upside's not as high, and older, and no way. No, maybe Lugo by himself. We'll continue it when we come back. Don't go away. It's Sports Daily. It's Al Brockton Caster. Your thoughts always welcome. You can video chat us, or you can give us a call at 869-1240. We'll be right back.
Lightning, hail, tornadoes, flooding. It's the worst of severe weather, and it's coming. Spring brings warmer temperatures, but also dangerous weather conditions. Stay up to date day or night with the Storm Team 12 weather app. You'll get accurate forecasts, so you can plan ahead and stay safe, no matter the weather. Download the Storm Team 12 weather app, brought to you by Stutzman's Greenhouse.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Canvas of our imagination. They tell a story, clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
This is Rich Eisen. Check out The Rich Eisen Show, 11 until 2 on Wichita's #1 sports station, Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Odyssey is one of the most influential audio and entertainment brands in the nation. You already know Odyssey's iconic local radio brands in Wichita. But did you know Odyssey has the country's best collection of music, news, and sports brands? Odyssey is also a premium podcast creator, major event producer, and digital innovator. Odyssey brings people together across the country and right here in Wichita. Odyssey also delivers meaningful radio and digital audio results. Find out our story and impact at odysseyinc.com/Wichita.
Make yourself known now.
8310 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Hey, Wichita, Jim Rome here. Celebrating over 25 years as the #1 midday sports talk show on Wichita Radio. Find out why. Tune into the jungle, weekdays 11 until 2 on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Back in, everybody. Sports Daily here. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor. Thanks for taking us in all the different ways that you do. You can listen to us and call us at 869-1240. You can watch us on 12 News Connected, Facebook, YouTube, X. You can leave us video comments that way. You can leave us voice messages through the Odyssey app if you're listening to us there, and also now on the iHeartRadio app. So excited to have you, all the different ways that you can take in the show. Hey, you can also... speaking of the app and listening to us, win a trip to see the Zach Brown Band, Love and Fear, live at Sphere in Las Vegas in December, including 2-night stay in a suite at the Venetian Resort, the only hotel which is directly connected to the Sphere. Easy to enter the national contest for a chance to win a trip to the show. Download the Odyssey app, listen to KFH for at least an hour. You can learn more about the contest at odyssey.com/Zach. thanks to the Messina Touring Group. Pretty cool prize there. Speaking of music, Tommy, we lose Ozzy yesterday. Man, that's he's become quite a character in American culture. Ozzy Osbourne. The music, I think for our generation and a little older, was a fun part of growing up. I think then he became a reality TV star, which sort of introduced him in a whole new light to a lot of people. Like, oh wait, he's not a devil worshiping crazy person. He's just an old rock star that is actually seems kind of normal outside of his his lifestyle catching up with him a little bit. And then he's been in funny commercials. He's kind of been a fun character. What a legacy it is. Like he had quite an impact. I watched some of that tribute or the farewell tour they just had. I couldn't believe seeing that after that tour just played. But Ozzy Osbourne, gone too soon. Were you an Ozzy, a Black Sabbath? Were you into that genre growing up?
Not growing up. I mean, I think when I got older, yeah. I mean, you come to appreciate, the music and of course Crazy Train and all of that. I think the thing with Ozzy is, as great of a rock star as he was, you and I actually talked about this a little bit last night. He kind of became a little bit of a caricature, towards the end of his life, which is, I think that takes away from the musical genius that he is a little bit. But it was a different phase in his life, and getting the family on reality TV made him kind of more of a mainstream pop culture kind of guy than the really hard rock stuff that he did.
He's pretty beloved, obviously in the music scene, by the timing of Black Sabbath. I don't think, and this was before our time. I don't think they were pioneers necessarily, but I think in some ways they were inspirations to so many of our great bands of that genre, certainly. But yeah, you'd say musical genius. You got to go back and like kind of look for it, but you can find it. Like War Pigs, Tommy, resonates so much now as like this revolutionary anthem. And then when I was a kid, I just heard the song and thought it sounded cool. I didn't ever really pay much attention to it. And you go back and you look at what it is and like read and you're like, whoa, like that was a pretty bold statement against the man there from Ozzy. So I don't know, or from Black Sabbath, I guess at that point. But they, gone too soon. But a great. I think for him, like how we put Dolly Parton, Snoop Dogg. I mean, there are other examples, but just like characters, like of the Willie Nelson, maybe to some degree, like just kind of looking across all the different. But the musicians and people that have become such great characters in American culture. I think he fit that profile as much as anything else.
Yeah, I think Max is currently trying to stop from gagging, comparing Ozzy Osbourne and Dolly Parton together.
You think that's off base, Max?
Not Snoop Dogg is not a musician.
It's not what I said at all. I said as far as American musical like characters.
Let me say, Sabbath began hard rock. They had a ad in the back of Rolling Stone, louder than Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, I believe that. That again, that like their timing is before my time. So
with melody and interesting lyrics.
Yeah, they were awesome. I love it. But I think that's funny that you immediately like went to a defense mechanism there. It's great. It's okay, Max.
I played a lot of Ozzy New.
Oh, as a DJ?
Yeah.
They rock, man. I love Ozzy. My grandpa's old record player is in my basement, and I got it. And I was
the record player.
Old musical styles. So there's stuff going way, way, way back. And I'm kind of thumbing through, and I pull out some records and I put them on. And one of them, I don't even remember what the case was, like what the record case was that I thought I was getting. Maybe it was probably like, I don't know, John Denver or something, or Elvis. And I pull it out and I throw it on the player and I just hear the all aboard. And I'm like, whoa, what was that? And I look and it's an Ozzy record. And I'm like, was my grandpa an Ozzy fan? And so I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was freaking out. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I immediately text my brothers, and they're like, "Oh no, that was actually probably us trying to hide records when we'd go to his house. We didn't want him to know we had it, so we would just slide it into the case, and then we'd pull it out and play it while they were gone." It's like, okay, that makes more sense. That's funny. It's okay, Max. Ozzy was just a regular dude. He wasn't only a rock star. It's all right.
He always had time for everybody. A couple of people I worked with in Palm Springs the second time around really like they got to meet him and take pictures with him.
That was the overwhelming sentiment yesterday, is just how much people loved him and love his family as well. So Ozzy gone too soon, certainly. All right, let's continue the conversation, Tommy, and we can kind of put a bow on the Royals here as well. We'll have Shreyas Laddha in the next hour. We'll get to Chiefs training camp as well. They lose the game yesterday, 6-0. It was disappointing to see the offense come to a screeching halt in that game as they've been heating up as much as they have. But, there's an immediate chance to bounce back, and I do think, and they'll play, Ray has been pretty good. It's just who they go up against tonight. They got a chance if they win this series. It does sort of wash away the Miami series, but eventually it's going to take more than 500 baseball for them to climb back into it.
It absolutely is, and you felt, I think, pretty optimistic about the way that the offense was trending after they put up 19 runs in the 2 prior games on Sunday and Monday, and then the bats, of course, really came alive in Monday night's game, the opener against the Cubs. I get that Matthew Boyd has been really good, and that was on full display last night. But you got to put at least a couple runs up on the board. You can't get blanked like that. And so I don't know. That's always been one of the major issues that we've seen with this team, is that it's not the fact that they don't have the offense. It's the fact that you never know when it's going to show up or go away. And it hasn't been able to be consistent. And so, hopefully the shutout last night is the exception and not the rule.
Yeah, hopefully it's just a product of Boyd, right? The fact that Boyd's really good.
Hopefully it's more about Boyd and less about the Royals offense. Unfortunately, there have been enough examples of a lack of offense for the Royals that it's hard to not think that it's maybe not just Matthew Boyd. It's also the fact that the Royals are not consistently producing offense.
Yeah, I'm just looking ahead. Let's look at their probable pitchers here to see how many of those they'll run up against in this next handful of games, at least in the next 5. So Ray today has been okay, but he's been good. He hadn't just been okay. He's been good. Gavin Williams. Well, we know Cleveland can pitch. You're going to face good pitching. So they're going to face some good pitching. I don't know what the Braves. How's the Braves starting rotation right now?
Pretty thin.
Yeah. So they're going to catch good pitching today. They're going to catch good pitching probably all the way through the Cleveland series, because that's the one thing Cleveland can do, and that has been a bit of a challenge. Like to me, I would rather see the Royals face a great offense with the opposition having a bad starting pitcher than a team like Cleveland, who might struggle offensively but have great starting pitching, because great starting pitching has really given the Royals fits. I think they are not equipped to just go out and dominate a great starter, but we'll see. Certainly a chance today, a day baseball at Wrigley Field, not something the Royals get to do all that often. That's kind of cool. Pregame coverage begins here at 1:00, but try to go win the series. If they don't win the series, they are going to, it just gets harder and harder every time. Let's look at the wild card here real quick. With that game last night, I haven't even pulled this up yet. Yeah, they stay at 4.5. Boston lost. So the team they chase, which is Boston, is at the bottom of the Yankees, Mariners, but just slightly ahead of the Rays. They lose ground there, and we'll see. They're still 4.5 games back. So, they don't lose ground, but they lose an opportunity there to gain a little ground on the Red Sox for the Royals last night. They'll send Seth Lugo to the mound today. Sort of a debut for maybe the league a little bit. I think, do you think that there is more attention on him now in these starts because he wasn't elite his last time out? I do wonder if teams are really considering it, how much they get out the magnifying glass on these starts right now. Like, all right, if we're really going to consider Lugo, let's get a good look. I just come on, Lugo, pitch well. But both because the Royals need it for wins, and if they're going to trade you, like, don't you just want him to come blank a couple of teams for 7 innings going down the stretch here?
Well, and he might be giving an audition to a team that might be interested in him in the
That's
Cubs.
what I'm saying.
Who are going to need pitching help, and so the fact that that he faces off against them at Wrigley today, that might be a little bit of an audition.
Not handy that he had his worst start of the year in his last time out against the Marlins. We need to wash that away real quick. Give him one of those classic Lugo 6-inning 1-run kind of a game here, and we'll see. Look, the other thing with Lugo is there is a chance, Tommy, in a world we're overvaluing him on the market. Because we have seen up close and personal how much he has meant to the Royals, doesn't mean he means that much to the market. You know what I mean? Like, we have valued him so high because he's been such a big part of this turnaround for the organization. But he may not be that valuable out on the open market. I think that's possible too. And he'll get, I think, 2 more starts before the deadline. Hopefully he'll pitch really well in those starts. Again, both because the Royals need him and because the Royals might need him to be a part of a trade. Both ways. So we'll see what he does today against that good Cubs offense in the daytime. Could be a little room for some fireworks today in Chicago on the north side.
Yeah, nothing I like more than day baseball in general, but especially at Wrigley, and especially when you've got the Royals playing at Wrigley. I mean, doesn't happen very often, and so enjoy it when you can.
Yeah, it'll be a cool environment. That game again, 1:00 coverage begins here. All right, coming up in our next hour, we may have Shreyas Laddha in. We're going to see if we make that connection this week or maybe off one more week. But either way, we've got lots of football going up and around all over the place. We got to check in from Chiefs training camp. We got to check in on what's being said among the conference commissioners about a college football playoff expansion. It's pretty interesting. We've talked about this before, but we kind of get the stances of all major parties and what they're feeling about it. So we'll get into that as well as we take you into the next hour. Let's give away some HGO on our way out of this hour. If you want to win some free iced tea, text the keyword T to the short code 20357. You can enter once per day. Message and data rates apply. It'll be good for East Wichita, West Wichita, or Derby. Good luck, everybody. We're coming right back with another hour of Sports Daily.
Lightning, hail, tornadoes, flooding. It's the worst of severe weather, and it's coming. Spring brings warmer temperatures, but also dangerous weather conditions. Stay up to date day or night with the Storm Team 12 weather app. You'll get accurate forecasts so you can plan ahead and stay safe, no matter the weather. Download the Storm Team 12 weather app, brought to you by Stutzman's Greenhouse.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
This is Rich Eisen. Check out The Rich Eisen Show, 11 until 2 on Wichita's #1 sports station, Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Odyssey is one of the most influential audio and entertainment brands in the nation. You already know Odyssey's iconic local radio brands in Wichita. But did you know Odyssey has the country's best collection of music, news, and sports brands? Odyssey is also a premium podcast creator, major event producer, and digital innovator. Odyssey brings people together across the country and right here in Wichita. Odyssey also delivers meaningful radio and digital audio results. Find out our story and impact at odysseyinc.com/Wichita.
Make yourself known now.
83-1001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Hey, Wichita, Jim Rome here. Celebrating over 25 years as the #1 midday sports talk show on Wichita Radio. Find out why. Tune into The Jungle, weekdays 11 until 2 on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Gester.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It is Sports Daily. We are getting you ready for another hour here. Should be a lot of fun. We will get a lot of football talk in here, college football, NFL football, a little bit. We'll dig in. We may have Shri Aslata in later, KU fans, so stay tuned there. We'll find out here in just a little bit. It's all what's on tap, brought to you by Wichita Brewing Company, WBC Delano's debut brew, Hatfield's Mama, a German Kolsch with a clean, crisp character that's smooth and refreshing. Make history with Hatfield's Mama. Wichita Brewing Company, Delano's debut brew, available at all 3 WBC brew pubs. So we're looking forward to it. A question somebody sent us on X, Tommy. How was the attendance in Kansas City for the K-State and KU alumni teams, and the TBT didn't seem like a very good crowd, even with 2 facing each other? I think it was okay. I don't think I never thought it was going to be like what Wichita has been able to do with the tournament. I did think, though, it would pull some fans away, probably from Coke Arena, but I think that's all it's done. It clearly wasn't a threat to Wichita as a host throughout, kind of a thing. What were the teams? There was the Boeheim team, the Kentucky team, La Familia, and one other, I think, that were ahead of Wichita in the sales to host throughout, and they've all been eliminated. So doesn't matter. But Casey was not one of those because they're not in the running anymore. Maybe they're in the running if the Aftershocks were to lose. I don't know. But not as good as Wichita, which is what we expected.
Yeah, there were some people that were worried about the attendance at Koch Arena. I know some of the players were, some of the players.
I have
about it, right? But it did look like a really nice crowd last night at Koch Arena. And I think that really it just took a little bit of a challenge, to get the fan base out to support this team.
It's a great thing. It's not surprising. Wichita does this all the time. Wichita turns up for stuff like this. And they have, and they will. And I expect Sunday, man, I hope it's KU. God, that would be fun. That would be so much fun. All right, Tommy, I don't know if you saw this yesterday. It's sort of a collection from CBS Sports of where the Power 4 conference commissioners sit on the college football playoff expansion. It sounds like Greg Sankey and the SEC he said last week, apparently, and I missed this, that they are open to a 5+7, 5+9, or 5+11 scenario. And that second number are the automatic bids after the conference champions. So basically it sounds like warming to the idea of the conference champions get in, the one group of 6 now gets in, and then all the other bids are auto bids. That's what Brett Yormark wants. It's not what the Big Ten wants. The Big Ten wants it's, where they get the 4 guaranteed teams. The Big 12 and the ACC would get 2 guaranteed teams, and then you go from there. That's what the Big Ten wants. And then what's interesting, the ACC just wants to make sure there are conference champions in. So Jim Phillips is also wanting the more auto bids, as is the Big 12. Here's what I thought was interesting in all of this. He believes that model, the 5+11, is the most fair. He does think this will get done in time for 2026, so he thinks they'll be at 16 teams. But here's what he said at Big 12 Media Days. We want to earn it on the field. It might not be the best solution today for the Big 12, but long-term, knowing the progress we're making, the investments we're making, it's the right format for us, and I'm doubling down today on 5+11. I don't disagree with Brett Yormark on much. I disagree with him on this one. I don't think that's the best move for the Big 12. It's an aggressive stance. It's an aggressive stance because the bottom line is the facts do not back up that would be a good move for the Big 12. And in fact, it would be significantly better for the Big 12 to have 2 guaranteed bids into a 16-team playoff. They just historically wouldn't have them, especially without Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, since we've been doing this, the CFP, the teams that currently make up the Big 12, we'd never have 2 teams in there. So that's a hedge. It's a hedge on the future of the league, but the future of the league to me looks like there's never going to be a dominating force, and they're always going to beat up on each other.
I think that with Brett Yormark, there's always been a brashness to him. He's been the top cheerleader and advocate for the conference. That's what they needed to have. They needed to have somebody come in that is wildly optimistic about the future prospects of this conference. And in today's landscape with the SEC and the Big Ten at the top, you can't have a conference leader in Brett Yormark in the Big 12 cave on anything and to act like the Big 12 is less than the other conferences. Is it realistic? That's a different conversation than should Brett Yormark be hyper aggressive in his belief that the Big 12 is going to long-term be a very strong conference. I don't have a problem at all with him saying we believe that this model in the CFP long-term for our conference is the best thing for us. I don't have a problem with him saying that as long as he can deliver on that.
Do you believe that?
I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the long-term
Do you believe
prospects...
there's ever a scenario in a 16-team playoff that the Big 12 could be consistently sending 3 teams to a playoff?
right this second, no. But I think
even down the road in the most optimistic way you can think about it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, in the most optimistic way I can think of. Sure. Yeah.
I can't.
I think that there are wild scenarios all over the place in college football.
But consistently for the league to, without Texas or Oklahoma, consistently do something it's never done before, even with Texas and Oklahoma, I don't know, like in the most optimistic world, in a 16-team playoff, like what makes us think that these programs that are not going to have, maybe it's the salary cap, maybe he feels like that evens it out a little bit more, I suppose, because that's not something we've ever dealt with before. But in the history of college football, in modern history, the Big 12 would never be sending 3 teams to a playoff like this. Ever.
But what's
they'd be good to send 2, and you're getting an opportunity to have 2 guaranteed.
What's the alternative? The alternative is the old man Bob Bowlesby telling legislators
the alternative
the Big 12 is going to fail. Like I want
that's not true at all. The alternative is getting 2 teams in and still having a way to play in. They're still going to have at-larges in that scenario, but you're getting guaranteed 2 teams.
I get it. And I understand that logically, it doesn't, the dots don't connect all the way, even in really optimistic circumstances. I get all of that. But again, I want my conference leader to be undeniably optimistic and undeniably aggressive about the future prospects of this conference. Is it delusional? Maybe a little bit. But I also don't think
unrealistic to me.
I don't think that anybody expected the Big 12 to be in the position that it's in right now when Brett Yormark took over. I mean, if you had listened to what the former commissioner said, the Big 12 was on its deathbed with Texas and Oklahoma, right?
All that was nonsense.
But Yormark has already done remarkable things in the landscape of conference realignment to not only keep the Big 12 viable, but for it to also thrive as well. And I think that he's probably thinking, look, I've already moved mountains to get this conference to where it is now. I can do more, and we can do more as a conference. I think that, the proof is in the pudding.
He's a businessman. I'll tell you why I think he's pushing for it. Because it makes the Big 12 championship game the most valuable. If you move to the new format and you do 2, the Big 12 championship becomes infinitely less valuable, less important. That's where I think this lands. He's smart. He's a businessman. I think anybody that's being realistic with this understands the Big 12 getting 2 teams in any year is going to be a luxury. And that's just the reality of the situation. I think that in that other format that's been proposed, it really hurts your league championship game. And I think that, nobody's ever going to say that, but I think that's where this comes from, because you don't want to lose that. And I understand that if that adds that much value financially to the league, okay. Right. Like I get it. And I don't know if there's a way to, I don't know what that would look like in that other format. Whereas now it's very simple. You win the Big 12 championship game and you're in. Right. It adds so much emphasis to that game. I think that's where it's got to come from. I think we're being crazy if we think the Big 12 sending 3 teams to a 16-team playoff. I think that's a pipe dream that's not realistic. But he's sticking to it, and I do trust him because I think he's done good work. And maybe it has something to do with the salary cap. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they're sending 3 teams. That'd be awesome.
He has delivered when he's needed to in this role in the Big 12. Can he deliver this? That's going to be an ultimate test, but I trust him too.
I want to be very wrong about this, but I do think it's the wrong call. I think they should take the 2. We'll come back. Let's talk Chiefs camp. We can continue that conversation with you as well. We're coming back with more Sports Daily.
Lightning, hail, tornadoes, flooding. It's the worst of severe weather, and it's coming. Spring brings warmer temperatures, but also dangerous weather conditions. Stay up to date day or night with the Storm Team 12 weather app. You'll get accurate forecasts so you can plan ahead and stay safe, no matter the weather. Download the Storm Team 12 weather app, brought to you by Stutzman's Greenhouse.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
The canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
This is Rich Eisen. Check out The Rich Eisen Show, 11 until 2 on Wichita's #1 sports station, Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Odyssey is one of the most influential audio and entertainment brands in the nation. You already know Odyssey's iconic local radio brands in Wichita. But did you know Odyssey has the country's best collection of music, news, and sports brands? Odyssey is also a premium podcast creator, major event producer, and digital innovator. Odyssey brings people together across the country and right here in Wichita. Odyssey also delivers meaningful radio and digital audio results. Find out our story and impact at odysseyinc.com/Wichita.
Make yourself known now.
831001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Hey, Wichita, Jim Rome here. Celebrating over 25 years as the #1 midday sports talk show on Wichita Radio. Find out why. Tune into the jungle, weekdays 11 until 2 on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
everybody. It is Sports Daily. Glad to be here with you, Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor, on a Hawaiian Shirt Wednesday. Thanks to all those who celebrate. Hope you're having a great day. Some of us are having a great day. Some of us choose to not participate in the fun things in life, and we're all entitled to our own choices, and that's fine. Tommy, I love the conversation about this playoff expansion. I am glad it's coming. They're all in agreement that the seeding needs to be like a straight seeding. I don't really care about that, honestly. I think the biggest challenge is the gap of time between the playoff starting, and I'm hoping expansion can solve that to some degree. I hope that just means we have to play games sooner than we have in the 1 year of this, but it's always been that way. I think that'll be good for the sport, but I do think this format is fascinating, and I think that to hear it sounds like the Big Ten now is kind of the only one pushing for this other scenario, and they're trying to maybe sway the SEC. And I get it from the SEC standpoint because the SEC has the proof in the pudding. Like if you go to 16, they're getting 4 of those teams in most years, if not more anyway. So I get where Stinky's coming from. Like, who cares? Just get us to 16 and we'll play it out. It's a really interesting discussion when it comes to the Big 12 and the ACC, though. And the ACC wants 5+11 too. It's not just Brett Yormark; they want it too.
Yeah, I think that one other thing that is really interesting that I had forgotten about or really hadn't been thinking about in our conversation in the last segment is I do think that there is, down the road, we're talking a few years down the road from now, but I think there's a scenario where we could see, ACC members that end up being poached from different conferences. And so in the world where, and I don't know which teams are most likely from the ACC to end up in the Big 12, if we're talking about a Florida State or a Miami or a Virginia or, a team, teams like that, North Carolina potentially, like there are options that are out there that could really change the way that we look at the 5 and 11 seeding scenario. If you've got a larger Big 12 and a larger SEC and a larger Big 10, if those teams are split up amongst multiple conferences, then that could be a little bit more of a viable situation, kind of backing up what Brett Yormark was talking about.
Absolutely, it would. But there are still 4 at-larges in the other scenario. The other part is how long would this be the scenario? Like how often can they just change it? Right. I think that in the short term, and Brett Yormark admitted that in the short term, getting 2 teams in, there is no debate, would be better for the Big 12. Long term is where you've really got to have some confidence that you're going to consistently do it. And I don't even think it's as much as being a knock on the quality of the Big 12, because I don't think it's that at all. I think it's a knock on the parity of the Big 12. The fact that this year there are 5 teams essentially with the same odds to win the conference championship doesn't mean those teams aren't good. It just means there are 5 teams there. And so like that's where it gets a little, because we know historically too, the Big 12 never gets the benefit of the doubt, right? As far as like the schedule and how deep the league is and those kinds of things, we've always just defaulted to the others. The Big 10 have the most recent national championships. The SEC have the long track record. The Big 12 does not have a great track record of its representative in these formats. So, I mean, I get it all, but the good news is we're having this conversation and not a stupid 4-team, whatever, 2-team conversation. Like these are the right conversations. And the one thing for me that is impossible to predict, and this is where I would say I want to be wrong and trust in Brett Yormark, is what does the salary cap do to all of this? Are some of these powerhouse programs going to be able to do what they've been able to do for the last 30 years or maybe longer, which is just dominate the sport and make it feel like an inevitability, right? Sometimes like it's inevitable that this is going to be how this ends. I hope that the salary cap changes that, because that would be, to me, the biggest X factor in all of this. There was a major ruling yesterday, by the way, on how clearinghouses can be treated by this new collective, one that goes way over my head and is honestly too difficult for me to understand what that means. We'll ask Kevin Saul about it next week. I just don't get it. But that landscape changing as much as it is, it could change this bigger landscape when it comes to the CFP. I think that is possible.
Yeah, I mean, does it level the playing field? I would say to an extent, yes. And but at the end of the day, like I think it's still too early to tell until the dust settles on with all the changes and with the cap and the amount of money that can be distributed in revenue shares and things like that. How much does it actually level the playing field when it's all said and done? I think it will, but I'm not ready yet to say like this is the end all be all and all of a sudden all things are equal.
I'm not either because I don't believe
Nobody
that.
knows. No, and
Well,
I don't. It's hard to tell. I mean, impossible to be able to tell right now as we sit here before we really actually implement revenue sharing and a limit and a cap and all of that. What I think it will make a difference, but how much of a difference will it actually make? And I don't think anybody can actually predict that.
Yeah, and then they're gonna have to rein in the transfer portal, and that will be, I don't know how you do that next either. I think there hopefully will be some natural occurrence of that because teams won't have these big offers to offer people, and more often the best offer will be where a player currently is. I hope that solves a lot of it. I think it will some, but I don't know that it will solve all of it in the chaos that creates either. But, there's a lot of teams that are going to compete without the transfer portal, wouldn't have had a chance. KU is one of those teams this year. And we are going to talk. I just confirmed with Shreyas Latta. We are going to have him in next segment. We can ask him that question, what he feels like that's coming from for the Big 12 commissioner. All right, let's talk Chiefs camp a little bit here, Tommy. Not as eventful as some of the days leading up to training camp there on day one. You got some really cool emotional stuff from Trey Smith on his new contract. And, we're just sort of going to sort things out. Brandon Zenner reporting yesterday, it was Simmons getting the first team reps at left tackle and Moore moved over to right tackle to fill in for Juwan Taylor. I think that is probably the most meaningful thing to watch in the preseason and the training camp here. That and what they do with Rashee Rice's reps, which they have said that he's going to just go full steam ahead. I wonder if that stays the same, though, if he gets a lengthy suspension. I think those are the two areas right now to keep an eye on in Chiefs camp. And maybe of consequence, maybe the only two.
Yeah, we always look at, especially in situations when, you're going to have more than likely have a hole at the top of the wide receiver room, who the guys are further down the depth chart that are going to be battling for a roster spot. And there are familiar names that are still there. Nico Remigio is there. Tyquan Thornton is there. Your buddy Sky Moore is still on the roster, which is wild to me that somehow he continues to be on this team. But could he get a roster spot? And how do the Chiefs fill out the remainder of that depth chart with the thought in a lot of people's heads that Rashee Rice is going to miss time? I really like Nico Remigio. I like what he can do in the special teams role as well. So I think he's got value beyond just being a wide receiver. It wouldn't be shocking to me if, his opportunity to make the team is greater now than it was before the Rashee Rice developments came down. I'm sure I wouldn't be shocked if he breaks camp and gets through the preseason as a part of this team. But I think the wide receiver room is going to be really interesting. You mentioned left tackle. I agree with you there. But then also running back. That was an area that was not really addressed in a large way during the offseason. They re-signed Kareem Hunt. They bring in Elijah Mitchell. Are they what other options do they have backing up Isaiah Pacheco, and who ends up showing out in training camp? I'm interested in that too.
I'll make a prediction. Brashard Smith's going to have a role on this team.
Yeah,
I think by the end of this thing, fantasy football players, if you're in a league with me, close your ears. If you're not, I think Brashard Smith has a decent, sizable role on this team. I think there's very much a scenario where he becomes this team's Jerick McKinnon. Similar skill sets, similar type player. We know Andy Reid loves those type players, and I just don't believe in his competition for reps almost at all. Hunt will have his role because they trust him. He knows the offense, and he can protect Patrick Mahomes. Pacheco will still get the bulk of the carries. I just don't. I guess Mitchell's been a non-starter for me, but who knows? I mean, who knows? If he's healthy, he is explosive. But I feel like Brashard Smith's going to be a thing. Wide receiver wise, and maybe that's another one to watch, is just how he acclimates and what he looks like. On the wide receiver part of the conversation, I don't really care too much about the guys at the bottom of the depth chart. We always make a big deal about that every offseason, and they're never factors in the season. Like, never are they factors in the season. But I think the part of it that gets interesting is who takes the reps if Rice is gone? And I guess you could start it this way. Do you think there's any receiver on the roster that is more talented than Rashee Rice? Do you
No.
think Xavier Worthy is more talented than Rashee Rice?
No.
I don't either. And so, and I really like Worthy, and I like where he developed and what he developed into. I think they'll play different roles ultimately. I wonder if Worthy ends up filling in for Rice while Rice is gone. And then what happens if he does well when Rice comes back? Does he lose that spot? That's what I like when I say watching those. That's what I'm talking about. Like, so if Rice misses time, who does the Rice role? And do the Chiefs put somebody else there and create the role now for Rice and Worthy to both be healthy on the field at the same time? Let Worthy do his thing even when Rice is gone? Or do they say Worthy's the next best guy to play that position and slide him over and potentially move him again later? I think that's what gets really interesting with the receiver room.
They have experience in how they run their offense without Rashee Rice. They did
do.
it for a majority of the season last year.
But
and
they
Xavier
don't have
Worthy,
experience with him being there, basically. With Worthy developed, obviously. I know at the beginning of the year they had him, but Worthy was a rookie at that point.
Right. I think that, let's say that Rice is out for 6 weeks, gets a 6-game suspension. I think you slide Worthy into that wide receiver 1 role. He's got experience in doing it. He did it for a lot of last season. He was growing and developing during that time. But by the end of the season, he was there. I think you continue on with that until Rashee Rice is able to come back.
But when Rashee Rice comes back.
Right. Then you do need to scheme up. What does it look like with both of these guys on the field at the same time? That's the more intriguing conversation, whether we're talking 4 games, 6 games,
I agree. It's not what they'll do while he's gone. It's what they do when he comes back. It is what they do when he's gone in the sense of, do they put Worthy in his spot or do they put somebody else in his spot? If they put somebody else in his spot, and I would have to ask a Chiefs insider, maybe Felix Johnson will know this and we can ask him next week. Did Worthy play Rice's position last year? They moved their receivers around so much until you'd pull up the all 22s. Like, I'm not sure that I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head. Or did Worthy do his own thing? I know that, like, for Mahomes, Worthy began to fill the role of, I'm going to funnel targets to him. What I don't know is formationally, was he playing the same receiver position on the field? I don't know that without looking at it or without asking somebody who studies film. So that's the interesting part, is what they do right out of the gates. Do they just let, like, Juju Smith-Schuster fill that role until he gets back, and then Worthy does his own thing in a different spot, and then they just plug him right back in? Where's Hollywood Brown fit? I don't think Hollywood Brown would do any of the same things that Rice does. I think Juju would be more likely to do that, or maybe it's just Worthy. And then what if Worthy balls out? Do you not put Rice back there?
What are your expectations for Jalen Royals this year? I mean, I know he's a rookie, but we've seen a history of.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued, right? If Rice were to get suspended for like the second half of the year, I think Royals could become a big factor. We just don't ever see receivers come out of the gates hot for Andy Reid like that. So I don't know. I think he's a total wild card. I'm intrigued by the player. I think it's interesting that he fits a style similar to what they've been doing with Rice and Worthy. And I, maybe he's a unicorn for Andy Reid, and he can pick things up quickly and becomes that factor. I'll tell you that I'm in the middle of doing what are called best balls in fantasy football, where you draft a team and then you just don't mess with them, right? It automatically sets the lineup based on how many points you have. That's kind of how I practice because I'm a nerd and I love fantasy football that much. I draft Jalen Royals a lot. Just on the off chance, like with my last pick, it's either usually him or Brashard Smith. Like, I don't know that both of them are going to factor in this year, but it does feel like there's a little room for one of them to be a significant contributor to the offense. I think there's a better chance it's Smith, but with the Rice news, it could be Royals. I mean,
Who do you think?
What is the ceiling for Royals? The team's fourth best wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, expectations have to be tampered a little bit.
Who do you think the most impactful rookie will be for the Chiefs this year? Is it Josh Simmons? For sure. Or, I think one guy that is not getting a whole lot of love is Omar Norman Lott. And he's got to come in. I mean, I think he's a day one starter for this team. I think
if Norman Lott is the correct answer to that
isn't on
question,
the roster anymore.
Yeah, if Norman Lott's the correct answer to that question, it'll probably mean two things: that they've got another disaster at left tackle, and that Norman Lott's, fantastic, which would be great. But if Josh Simmons isn't the most important rookie to this team, I think it's going to be a problem. I think it's going to be a pretty big problem. It was the reason they didn't win a Super Bowl last year, is because of their left tackle. Like, they have to have Josh Simmons be that guy. The planets seem to be aligning for Simmons to be the guy. He looks the part. He's got the pedigree to be the part. And the health risk that was scaring teams doesn't seem to be a factor. It seems like planetary alignment. I mean, just looking at him without pads out there, he's a monster. He looks like he belongs there. He's got to be the guy. He's got to be the guy.
It's wild how quickly he's bounced back from that injury. I mean, from talking about when they first drafted him, like, well, hopefully he'll be ready to go for week one. And then all of a sudden he's there in day one in training camp with no restrictions. I mean, like that.
Doesn't
I think
that tell you something about the athleticism, though, to exceed that way?
Absolutely it does. And it's not like he is injury prone and has had a bunch of injuries in his career. He's had one. It was a pretty significant one, but he's had one. And he's been able to bounce back from that.
It's a totally different situation than Trey Smith, obviously, because you're talking about like a physical injury versus blood clots, something. But it's not all that different. Like, Trey Smith was a supreme talent, and Josh Simmons appears to be a supreme talent. And there's room for the Chiefs to take those kinds of risks, and the rewards, if you get them right, can be enormous. And I hope that, but yes, if Brashard Smith scores 12 touchdowns this year, Josh Simmons will still have been more important, I think, to what the Chiefs have to get done. We'll come back. We do have Shreyas Laddha. Let's ask him about this college football playoff expansion and get you ready for KU football season. Bill Self also talked this week, so a lot to get to on the Jayhawks. We'll do it with our Jayhawk Insider next.
Lightning, hail, tornadoes, flooding. It's the worst of severe weather, and it's coming. Spring brings warmer temperatures, but also dangerous weather conditions. Stay up to date day or night with the Storm Team 12 weather app. You'll get accurate forecasts, so you can plan ahead and stay safe, no matter the weather. Download the Storm Team 12 weather app, brought to you by Stutzman's Greenhouse.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Canvas of our imagination. They tell a story, clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
This is Rich Eisen. Check out The Rich Eisen Show, 11 until 2 on Wichita's #1 sports station, Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Odyssey is one of the most influential audio and entertainment brands in the nation. You already know Odyssey's iconic local radio brands in Wichita. But did you know Odyssey has the country's best collection of music, news, and sports brands? Odyssey is also a premium podcast creator, major event producer, and digital innovator. Odyssey brings people together across the country and right here in Wichita. Odyssey also delivers meaningful radio and digital audio results. Find out our story and impact at odysseyinc.com/Wichita.
Make yourself known now.
8310 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Hey, Wichita, Jim Rome here. Celebrating over 25 years as the #1 midday sports talk show on Wichita Radio. Find out why. Tune into the jungle, weekdays 11 until 2 on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
And now, digging deeper with the teams you follow, it's another Sports Daily Insider interview on KFH.
And it is Shreya Slaughter on a Hawaiian Shirt Wednesday, back from vacation. I'll give you a hall pass on the Hawaiian shirt, Shreya. I know you're just trying to get back in the groove here. Yeah. So no harm, no foul there. But welcome back in. You can find Shreya's work, of course, the KC Star. You can follow Shreya's, SHRE98, on X to find that work as well. We are about we're a day away from KU football practice opening up to the media. Shreya, are you in football mode yet? You feeling it?
I'm ready. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a little bit of adjustment, going from summer back to football season, but the rhythm, the rhyme, everything else is starting up soon. And tomorrow is the marking of that, and back to the regularly scheduled programming, as I call it.
We talked a lot over the course of this offseason about the returners for Kansas, Shreus, and guys like Jalen Daniels and others that are coming back for Lance Leipold. But Leipold was pretty busy in the portal during the offseason as well. I know that we haven't really seen any of these guys work yet, but are there newcomers from a transfer perspective that we should be keeping our eyes on?
Yeah, Emmanuel Henderson, Alabama transfer, Leipold, and Jalen Daniels have talked very highly about him. Wide receiver, he could be a guy that could be, if everyone thinks he's as good as I've heard and players have said, he could be a real number one. And Jalen Daniels hasn't quite had that level of wide receiver ever. No disrespect to the people that he's played with, but I think Emmanuel Henderson has a different gear. Levy Vance is another wide receiver that can come in and help try and replace the production. They brought in a tight end, two tight ends. They also have, really, Deshaun Haneke's back from torn Achilles tendon that kept him out last year. They've brought in a slew of corners to replace Kobe and Mello. It's going to be really interesting. There's a lot of positions that have some question marks with this team. And the biggest thing is always, is Jalen healthy? A, which it looks he appears to be, and B, can he put together a season like he did in the second half of last year after a rough start?
Shreus, what is the biggest thing standing in the way of KU competing for a Big 12 championship this year?
Lack of cohesion, experience. A lot of these guys have talked
about. Talented enough?
I think it's early to say. I think for me, sit down on the limb after last year thinking they win 11 games, I'm not going to predict them to do anywhere close to that. But I think they have this schedule, obviously, as of right now, things change rapidly, as we learned last year, to win at least 7 or 8 games. They have the quarterback to do it. They have the coaching staff to do it. I think so much of the way KU season plays out next year is Jalen Daniels' health, his consistency. I think the wide receiver room is also another, could be better, could be worse. You're just asking a lot of a veteran quarterback to find cohesion with a completely new look, receiver room, tight end room, running back room. And then on the defensive end, you're replacing a lot of talented guys. So they could certainly be a lot better than last year. I don't think, that's out of the question, out of the realm of possibility. But better in the sense that they're winning, maybe losing only 2 games, maybe losing 1 game. I would have to see it to believe it.
Going back to the beginning of last season, I've tried to put it out of my memory because of how maddening and frustrating it was for this Jayhawks team, especially from a play calling perspective and the way that the offense was deployed for this Jayhawks team. Jeff Grimes is out. Jim Zebrowski is the new offensive coordinator. Zebrowski has been with the team for a while and with Leipold for a long time. There is continuity there with him and Jalen Daniels. What do you expect, or what are you hearing about the way that Zebrowski has come into basically running that offense on his own now?
Well, Jalen said at Big 12 Media Days, it's like, he feels like it's nothing has changed almost. He's like, maybe things I'll feel a little more when we get closer to training camp or when we're closer to the season. Right now, he's like, that relationship I have with Jim Zebrowski is a good one. And he's talked about how important that relationship is. And they obviously have a lot of trust in each other. And I think there's a lot of excitement from everybody on this team who's here last year and has worked with Jim Zebrowski that, okay, there's continuity, but also it's not like they replaced Grimes with a guy they got off the street, another guy that has to adjust to the way Kansas football plays its football. Zebrowski is a guy that, I think there are players in the locker room that felt he should have been given the chance to be an offensive coordinator over Grimes last year.
That's interesting. I want to go bigger picture to the Big 12. Brett Yormark has made his stance clear when talking about a college football playoff expansion that he prefers more at-large bids and only one guaranteed bid for the Big 12 versus the 4-4-2-2 model in which the Big 12 would get 2 guaranteed, but the SEC and the Big Ten would get 4 guaranteed teams. He says it's a bet on the future. Do you think there's a world where the Big 12, fast forward down the road, could be sending 3 teams in a 16-team playoff?
I think there's a world that could happen. I don't really see that as a realistic possibility of that consistent happening. I think it'd have to be a special season for those 3 teams to be able to be sent in the playoffs. I mean, like, let's call it what it is. There's some inherent viewpoint that the Big 12 is the worst of the Power 3 conferences, right, in football. Whether that's true or not depends on the season, but the Big 12 is always playing at a disadvantage because there's a viewpoint that the conference is automatically weaker than the Big 10, automatically weaker than the SEC. So in a season where they send 3, I think that means, A, these 3 teams had spectacular seasons just beating up on everybody else but each other in the conference. And B, there's probably a down year for the Big 10 and probably a down year for the SEC because I think there is some level of inherent media bias, inherent bias towards some of these other bigger conferences. I'm a Georgia fan. I understand it. I get it. There's a viewpoint that every loss in the SEC is I joke about it, but a victory almost in the sense of compared to other conferences. But I understand where your Mark is at because I think he knows the minute he concedes the fact that the SEC gets 4 bids, the Big 10 gets 4 bids, it just makes the mark between the Big 12, Big 10, and SEC just that much bigger and pronounced on paper.
Real quick, Shrees, I want to go back to this Jayhawks offense. And, of course, all eyes are going to be on Jalen Daniels and in, his final year in college and everything. I know the health, it seems like, he's back to 100% and, everything we want to see from him. I think the one area of concern that I've got is what kind of protection is he going to get on the line? I have this fear that, he's going to be running for his life out there. And while he's healthy now, I want to keep him healthy as well. I know that Bryce Foster is dealing with an injury that is keeping him out. What are you hearing as far as the offensive line is concerned?
Yeah, there's some question marks. I mean, there's not, there's like some guys that have to replace, obviously, that left for graduation. It's not what the continuity wise it was last year or the year before that. That said, I think Kansas has done a good job of picking up some guys in the portal. You also hope you have internal development of some of the guys that have been there a long time. And, I think as we've learned, there might be some growing pains. Like there were growing pains last year in the first few weeks with the offensive line. But I thought after the West Virginia game, they were pretty stellar overall. And maybe that was a mix of Jalen just looking better or the offensive line getting better or a mix of both. But I think the offensive line has a chance because of the way they were coached and, the way the pickups they picked to be as good as last year, if not better.
One final thing, Shrees, Bill Self-talk this week. Anything of interest we need to take away from that? He still wants another player, right? That's about the most meaningful thing I saw. Yeah,
I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, it's not bad to have another guy off the bench just in a developmental role. I think big picture wise, Kansas is done, and I think they know, another player is not going to come in and take minutes from anybody. It's going to be a guy that can develop for maybe a couple of years, maybe an eventual bench guy, if not this year, next year. But I think, I'm excited to continue to hear more progress about Bryson Tiller and Elmarco Jackson in their recovery process. It seems like they're getting closer and closer to 100%. And those guys are guys who are going to be, I think, pivotal players on next year's team because there's a lot of question marks of who's going to do what in replacing production loss, but also just finding the roles within the team.
Well, Shrees will have his eye on all of it for us, following along stadium updates, football camp beginning, basketball roster. Where does the recruitment of Tyron Stokes stand? So go give Shrees a follow at SHRE98. Follow his work at the KC Star. Welcome back, Shrees, and let's get ready. We're about to be there.
Thanks for having me, guys.
There goes Shrees Latta. Lots of good stuff there. Go check it all out. New stadium looks good, Tommy. The images and things that we're seeing are fun. The wheat in the end zone is a nice touch. We're getting there with that stadium with Booth. It'll help big picture. I think it looks good. I know you're a KU guy that's been to a lot of games there. Are you a fan of what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks really good, really impressive, really sharp. Yeah, it's not fully done. They still need to do the east side of the stadium, and
Right.
that'll be the next phase of the project. And then at that point, it'll be completely done. But at least what they've done right now, for this phase, it does look really good from what I've seen.
Yeah, they'll come along with that. I'm ready for football. Maybe we'll get what we thought we were going to get last year out of both KU and K-State. I think it's possible. I think it's certainly more possible for K-State than KU. But when you got these teams in the league that are so full of transfers, like it does. Like what is going to happen? Who knows? Is Texas Tech going to get an ROI on all the money they've spent? Can KU replace all these players? It's so strange with KU to me to be so down on all these players that they lost, which I am, but they didn't win very many games last year. It's like this weird dynamic. Like we're like, oh my gosh, they got to replace all these guys. What they didn't do what they were supposed to do last year. So maybe that's not such a bad thing. I don't know.
By the way, this is on a completely different note. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but some news coming down this morning that apparently ESPN and the NFL are closing in on a deal that would see ESPN acquire the NFL Network and the Red Zone channel. And so apparently that's there. The words are they're within the 5-yard line of ESPN acquiring both of those properties.
That makes a lot of sense based on some other things that are happening around the sports world. I don't know I don't watch a ton of NFL Network outside of the Red Zone. So you better just keep my guy Scott Hansen. You better not mess with that.
Watch it end up being, 8 hours of Stephen A. Smith doing Red Zone every Sunday.
No comment. All right, we'll come back. And I like Stephen A. Smith. I don't think I'd like him in that role at all. But nobody touched that except Scott Hansen. He's the guy. Leave him alone. We'll be back.